From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the shortwave facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media, or Voice of America, on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang in Review. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday conveyed his profound appreciation to Malacañang employees for their year-round dedication and service. Speaking during the flag-raising ceremony at the Office of the President, the Chief Executive commended personnel for consistently performing above and beyond their duties. President Marcos urged them to remain focused despite political noise, acknowledging their crucial role in advancing the administration's reform agenda. The president also extended his Christmas wishes, encouraging employees to enjoy the season with their families and loved ones.
We have this tradition of coming to be with you, especially during Christmas time, because it gives me an opportunity to thank you all for the very hard and good work that you have put in throughout the year. Maraming salamat. And it is time, it's our opportunity here, now, today, to make things right, to make things better, to make the lives of each Filipino better. That is how important our jobs are. And that is why, from the depths of my heart, I am grateful to you for the work that you have done, because I know that you have dedicated above and beyond lahat ng ginagawa ninyo, above and beyond the call of duty, as we say in the military. Let us look forward to next year and reinvigorate ourselves, remind ourselves of the principles that we work for, remind ourselves why we do what we do, and put our heads down and continue to work.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Monday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has directed government agencies to put the safety of Filipino fishers front and center after Chinese vessels reportedly used water cannons and carried out dangerous maneuvers against about 20 Filipino fishing boats near Escoda Shoal in the West Philippine Sea. In a briefing Monday, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, has already condemned the December 12 incident, which occurred roughly 70 nautical miles off mainland Palawan. She added that the president also ordered the deployment of assets to strategic areas to ensure monitoring and protection for Filipino fishing communities. Castro noted that President Marcos supports boosting the Philippine Coast Guard's capabilities through the acquisition of additional vessels to reinforce the country's maritime presence. She also underscored his call for unity in safeguarding national interests and the welfare of Filipinos in the region.
Unang-una po, nasabi na po ng DFA na kinokondem po natin ang nasabing insidente. At nakausap po mismo natin si Commodore Tariela, at ang pinagbilin po at ang direktiba ng Pangulo ay unahin ang kaligtasan ng ating mga kababayan, ang mga mangingisda na minsan ay nanganganib ang kanilang buhay. At pinag-utos din po na magkaroon ng deployment sa mga strategic location para mabantayan at mabigyan proteksyon ang ating mga mangingisda. At sinusuportahan po ng Pangulo ang pagbili ng mga Coast Guard vessels para mas marami po na makapagbantay din po sa ating interes at interes ng ating mga kababayan. At ito po ang panahon upang ang bawat Pilipino ay magkaisa, iangat ang interes ng bansa natin, iangat ang interes ng kapwa Pilipino natin.
That was Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. unveiled Tuesday the newly installed electronic or e-gates, dignitaries lounge, and modern food halls at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City in a bid to modernize the country's primary gateway. During the launching ceremony, President Marcos toured the e-gates, the dignitaries lounge, and the mezzanine and tambayan food halls.
Looks like a real airport finally, because it looks like the airports that we go through when we travel in other places. And to finally see the airport at least functioning like a modern airport, the importance is the multiplier effect of this efficiency is quite massive. The goal was clear: transform the Manila International Airport into an airport that works always with the passengers in mind.
President Marcos inaugurated the 200 square meter Dignitaries Lounge at Terminal 3, which is designed to accommodate up to 61 distinguished guests. The chief executive said the launch of the new lounge reflects the best of what we are as Filipinos: warm, respectful, and welcoming. The lounge aims to provide a more appropriate and welcoming setting for official engagements, reflecting Filipino hospitality while supporting NAIA's role as the country's primary international gateway. President Marcos also led the opening of the 2 new food halls aimed at increasing dining capacity and choice for passengers. The Tambayan Food Hall features 17 homegrown brands showcasing regional flavors and local products from across the Philippines, allowing travelers to experience Filipino cuisine at the airport. President Marcos also visited the 6,801 square meter mezzanine food hall, which can accommodate up to 600 guests, offering 22 standalone restaurants and cafes. The 2 new food halls reflects NNIC's efforts to improve comfort and choice for passengers, as well as make dining a more integral part of the Terminal 3 experience.
Today's launch of the new immigration e-gates builds on that progress. Passengers can now clear in as little as 20 seconds, not 20 minutes, 20 seconds, with further improvements expected as the system continues to learn and begins to stabilize. Ito ay patunay na iginagalang natin ang oras ng bawat bahero at pinanghahalagahan ang kanilang dignidad, sapagkat ang maayos na serbisyo ay karapatan naman ng bawat Pilipino. Beyond immigration, we are also launching the All Filipino Food Hall, Mezzanine Food Hall, which offers travelers better spaces to rest, to dine, and to reconnect. All Filipino Food Hall features 15 homegrown brands, while the Mezzanine Food Hall offers 17 standalone restaurants and cafes. These halls allow travelers to experience the flavors of home or discover them for the first time, even within the walls of the airport.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Tuesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. welcomed returning overseas Filipino workers or OFWs and led the distribution of assistance during the 2025 presidential Pamaskong Salubong at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA in Pasay City. Held ahead of Christmas, the event aims to welcome home OFWs arriving from overseas to spend the holidays with their families and loved ones. President Marcos, accompanied by First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, greeted the returning OFWs and oversaw the distribution of assistance during the activity, which was organized by the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA in partnership with various government agencies.
Ang ating mga OFW, ang ating mga bagong bayani, ang patuloy na nagdadala ng dangal sa ating bansa. Ang bawat OFW natin ay nagsisikap na mabigyan ng mas magandang kinabukasan ng kanilang pamilya sa kabila ng pangungulila at panganib. Kaya naman, ginagawa ng pamahalaan ang lahat upang maging mas malapit, mabilis at maasahan ang ating mga serbisyo para sa ating mga OFW.
The pamaskong salubong underscores the Marcos administration's commitment to honoring the sacrifices of Filipino migrant workers and ensuring that they feel welcomed and supported upon returning home for the holidays. The initiative aims to provide hope and assistance to returning migrant workers while highlighting the government's commitment to the welfare of Filipinos abroad and their families.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Tuesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. announced that an estimated 130,000 balikbayan boxes will be returned to their rightful owners before Christmas. During the inauguration of the new facilities at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City, the President said the Bureau of Customs or BOC is now processing the immediate release of around 130 container vans with balikbayan boxes sent by overseas Filipino workers or OFWs but left unattended for nearly a year. President Marcos said the government would exhaust all efforts to facilitate the speedy distribution of the long-delayed balikbayan boxes to the rightful owners. The chief executive noted that some of the boxes have already been delivered.
Ang nangyari po rito ay nagpadala po ang ating OFW ng balikbayan box, inuwi dito sa Pilipinas. Yun naman yung mga nagdala hindi naman binayaran ang mga dapat bayaran dito sa Pilipinas. Kaya nandun nakatiwangwang lang yung mga balikbayan box for almost yung iba magwa 1 year na. Nandun lang sa Bureau of Customs. Ngayon, sinimula na natin ang pagbibigay at ipagbabalik dahil hindi naman pagmamayari ng pamahalaan yan, pagmamayari yan ng ating mga OFW. Kaya starting today, i-release na natin. Gaano kadami ba yun? There was about 100 more or less 130,000 balikbayan boxes na nakatenga lang dyan, nag-aantay, hindi alam ang gagawin. Now, we will send them back to their owners. Pipilitin natin. Yung mga iba rito, pinadala para pang Christmas gift nung nakarang taon. Kaya sa wakas, pipilitin natin matanggap naman nila bago dumating naman ang Pasko.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Wednesday called on the newly promoted senior officials of the Philippine National Police or PNP to exercise fairness and focus on their personal and career growth amid political noise. During the oath-taking of the 50 PNP star-ranked officers at Malacañang Palace in Manila, the President emphasized the greater influence the officers now carry as they hold broader authority in police operations. The Chief Executive said they should continue to uphold the law to earn the public trust and promote the welfare of the entire police force. President Marcos warned that the threats posed by political grandstanding and possible conflict can trigger disorder, which may escalate beyond physical spaces. The president reaffirmed his administration's continued support for the PNP personnel, acknowledging their crucial role in protecting the nation. President Marcos Jr. said the government would continue implementing reforms aimed at boosting police officers' capability and morale, noting that he had already ordered the implementation of a 3-tranche salary increase and higher daily subsistence allowance starting in 2026.
So I ask you to continue to improve yourselves personally, professionally, institutionally. Do not be complacent. Be firm, be fair, be decisive, while remaining fully respectful to the rights and dignity of every single Filipino. The challenges before us are becoming even more sophisticated and even more complex. We face social divides, political noise, emerging tensions within our communities. At the same time, digital and technological threats now operate across borders and platforms. These threats can trigger disorder, which may escalate beyond physical spaces. In this environment, our people rely on the police as their immediate and dependable line of protection. Given the nature of your duties, be assured that this administration stands firmly behind the Philippine National Police. So alongside these measures, we remain committed to supporting and ensuring the welfare of your families, recognizing that their well-being is integral to your service as a nation. So continue to serve with honor, lead with purpose, always act in the best interest of our great nation and of the Filipino people.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Also on Wednesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. called on the Philippine National Police or PNP to beef up security measures and maintain vigilance nationwide during the holiday season to ensure public safety amid increased travel and public activities. The president urged police personnel to maintain a visible and reassuring presence on major roads, public spaces, transport hubs, and communities where families gather during the Yuletide festivities. President Marcos reminded the newly promoted officers that public service does not pause even during times of celebration, stressing the importance of continuing to serve with honor and act in the best interest of our great nation and of the Filipino people.
As we are in the holiday season, when more people are out in public and families are on the move, this period calls for heightened security and vigilance. So maintain a visible and reassuring presence on our roads, in public spaces, in transport hubs, and in communities where families gather. Tiyakin ninyo ang kaligtasan ng bawat mamamayan upang tunay natin maramdaman ang saya ng Kapaskuhan na may kapanatagan at pagkakaisa at may tunay na ligaya. This season likewise reminds us that public service does not pause even in times of celebration.
The president reaffirmed his administration's support for the PNP, recognizing its critical role in maintaining peace and order, especially during periods of heightened public activity. The PNP has already prepared its security measures to ensure public safety during Christmas and New Year activities, placing units on alert and deploying personnel across the country as part of its annual holiday security operations. A total of over 100,000 police personnel will be deployed nationwide to ensure public safety and deter crime.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Wednesday, Malacañang said Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has directed the Anti-Terrorism Council, or ATC, to remain vigilant against possible terror threats as he rejected foreign media's misleading characterization of the Philippines as an ISIS training hotspot. Palace Press Officer and Communications Undersecretary Attorney Claire Castro reminded the foreign media to be discerning and responsible in their reporting, particularly in how they depict the Philippines, stressing that branding the country as a terror hub could harm its integrity and image. Citing the National Security Council, or NSC statement, Castro said there are no validated reports showing that suspects in the recent Bondi Beach shooting in Australia allegedly underwent military-style training from local terror groups in the Philippines a month before the attack. Castro said Philippine authorities, in coordination with international partners, continue to verify all available information. Still, no evidence has been presented to support claims that the country was used for terrorist training. Castro also noted assessments from the United Nations and the United States indicating that ISIS-linked groups in the Philippines now operate in a fragmented and diminished capacity. She added that violence in Mindanao is largely driven by historical conflicts and local clan disputes rather than the operational capacity of ISIS-affiliated organizations.
Of course, the President strongly rejects the sweeping statement and the misleading characterization of the Philippines as the ISIS training hotspot. At dahil dito ay napanayan po natin o nakausap po natin mismo ang pamunuan ng NSC at ito po ang kanilang tugon at aking babasahin. Regarding reports describing the Philippines as an ISIS hotspot, the characterization is misleading. Currently, there is no validated report or confirmation that the individuals involved in the Bondi Beach incident received any form of training in the Philippines. Philippine authorities, in coordination with international partners, continue to verify all available information, but no evidence has been presented to support claims that the country was used for terrorist training. Since the 2017 Marawi siege, Philippine security forces have significantly degraded ISIS-affiliated groups in the country. Both United Nations and the U.S. government assessments indicate that these groups now operate in a fragmented and diminished capacity. Violence in Mindanao is largely driven by historical conflicts and local clan disputes, rather than the operational capacity of ISIS-affiliated organizations. Recent assessments indicate significant improvements in the domestic security environment that were previously affected by terrorism. These developments reflect the sustained efforts of our security forces and the resilience of our communities in advancing peace, order, and development across the nation. The President orders the Anti-Terrorism Council and member agencies to remain vigilant in preventing any terrorist activity within Philippine territory and to continuously enhance coordination with international partners to safeguard national security. Yan po ang responde ng NSC.
The recent mass shooting at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, killed at least 16 people and wounded dozens more during a Hanukkah celebration. Authorities have described the incident as a terrorist attack inspired by Islamic State or ISIS ideology. Australian police identified the suspects as a father and son, 50-year-old Sahid Akram and his 24-year-old son Naveed Akram. The elder Akram was killed by police at the scene, and the younger suspect remains hospitalized under arrest. According to reports, the pair traveled to the Philippines in November this year, spending nearly the entire month there before returning to Sydney just weeks before the shooting.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Thursday urged newly promoted generals and flag officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP to lead with integrity and humility as they carry out their mandate to defend the nation with honor and courage. Speaking at the mass oath-taking of newly promoted AFP officials and graduates of foreign pre-commissioned training institutions in Malacañang Palace, the President said the ceremony serves as a reminder of their sacred trust, upholding the Constitution, serving the Filipino people, and remaining loyal to the Republic. President Marcos called on the officers to remain steadfast in protecting the country's sovereignty, strengthening national security, and safeguarding the freedoms of all Filipinos. The Commander-in-Chief said their promotion reflects the AFP's continued loyalty to the Constitution, democratic institutions, and the Filipino people. President Marcos added that the government has taken steps in recent months to ensure the AFP remains a model of discipline, competence, and service. The chief executive also reaffirmed his administration's support for the AFP, highlighting ongoing efforts to modernize the armed forces, to strengthen defense capabilities, and uplift troop morale. President Marcos cited his recent approval of higher base pay and increased daily subsistence allowances for military and uniformed personnel, recognizing their role in addressing both current and emerging security challenges. The President expressed confidence that the AFP will continue to work with his administration in building a stronger, more secure new Philippines.
We are reminded today that this oath-taking is a reaffirmation of a sacred trust, the respect for the Constitution, service to the Filipino people, and loyalty to the Republic. I congratulate our generals and flag officers, including the 2 newly commissioned graduates of foreign pre-commissioned training institutions. As you open another chapter, you also accept greater responsibility to lead with wisdom, restraint, and moral clarity. This ceremony serves as a powerful affirmation that our loyalty is anchored to the Constitution, to our democratic institutions, and above all, to the people. As your President and your Commander-in-Chief, I reaffirm this administration's commitment to the continued modernization of the armed forces. In fact, we have taken steps to better support the women and men in uniform. We have approved the increase of the base pay of military and uniformed personnel. We also increased this year the daily subsistence allowance of all military and uniformed personnel to 350 pesos. All these reflect our principle that honoring service means ensuring that those who serve are given the support and dignity that they rightfully deserve. May you always wear the stars on your shoulders as daily reminders of your duty to lead with integrity, to serve with humility, and if necessary, fight for the Republic with honor and with courage.
That was Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download Evox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our posts as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang in Review. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.